The Land of the Fans is a fascinating and diverse landscape spreading over an area of East London and southwest Essex. Fans is derived from the Saxon word for fen, meaning low marshy land or low-lying district. Historically, this is an area of fens, forests and farming, and one of the few surviving landscapes of London as it once was. It's an environment shaped by the shifting relationship between land and water, rich in wildlife and full of surprises.
My name is Ken Walpole. I describe myself as a writer and social historian. I've been really focusing on exploring Essex as a landscape and as a place of very great interest. Most people, including me, do regard this area as being largely a place you see from the road or from the train. I mean, you have these very heavy-duty roads running west to east or east to west. As people never get out of their car, they just see a few hedges and a few fields and they think that's it. But actually there's an enormously rich range of kind of back roads and country lanes that once you get off the road on your bike or if you're walking, they take you to the most amazing places. In the 17th and 18th centuries, quite a lot of wealthy London families or aristocratic families built large houses, mansions, even small castles out in Essex. And the remains of some of those are still here. Possibly as importantly, the remains of their wonderful gardens are still here, that are now being repurposed as allotments or food growing areas or community gardens. And that's another part of the story of the Land of the Fans. What surprised me and will surprise many people is that a lot of some of the most interesting wildlife areas are actually former rubbish tips. Many of these former wasteland areas and rubbish tips have actually been transformed by volunteers or by ecological groups or wildlife groups into amazing kind of wildlife centres where there's an astonishing array of bird life to see. So that element of turning wasteland into rich kind of ecological landscape, I think is one of the great stories of the Land of the Fans.
How enticingly beautiful the valley looks in May, with lush greens and contrasting browns and yellows and bright reflecting water. You cannot help but smell the sweet perfume drifting along the paths and hedgerows. A warm, refreshing breeze sweeps along the winding river, attracting banded demoiselles in their iridescent colours, dancing, prancing, hypnotising someone glancing at their graceful swaying courtship above the gurgling, flowing water.
Is like a big forest where there are lots of animals and wildlife. We do weekly visits there, something called Forest School, where we learn about things and we just get to experience nature.
Sometimes we find squirrels in the forest and birds. And our teacher sometimes says there could be like magic fairies in there, and if the trees are like swishing and the leaves are falling down, it means like there may be fairies in there or swishing it.
There's a very familiar saying that I've always loved, which is that what is familiar is not known. Too often we take for granted the things that are nearest to us. So we travel 100 miles and we see a horse in a field and we think that's really beautiful, but you only need to walk half a mile in Essex. There's plenty of horses and plenty of fields. There is so much to enjoy. The importance of place and access to woods and forests and lakes and bird life, I think is going to be very important. It has to be protected. And so I would hope that all these, what were once formerly, rather derelict pieces of land that have now been transformed, will be protected. It is invaluable to the people who live here.